Have you ever looked at your donor list and thought, I haven't heard from them in months? They used to be so engaged, or I wonder if they're still interested. Many nonprofit leaders assume that when a major donor goes quiet, it means they've lost interest entirely. But what if that's not true? What if your donor isn't waiting for another newsletter? What if they're waiting for you? Today, we're talking about why major donors go quiet, what it usually means, and how you can re engage them before the relationship fades away. That is our focus on this episode. Let's huddle up. Hey, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Mark, the Fund Coach. I'm Mark Duncan. Today, I want to talk about a topic that hopefully will help you and regain some confidence and regain some control as it relates to your donors and losing connection and contact with them. One of the biggest fundraising myths is that if donors aren't reaching out to you, then they must have lost interest. And that's usually not the case. I mean, think about your own relationships. You probably don't call your favorite restaurant or your financial advisor or even your pastor unless you have to, unless you need to. You expect them to reach out to you when it matters, right? Your restaurant may have, a special that they're offering and you're on their mailing list and they're reaching out to you that way. And you expect that when it matters. But donors actually feel the same way. They are expecting you to reach out when it matters. They're waiting for a reason to connect. This is not rejection. More often, it's simply inactivity. They're waiting for your leadership. And that comes from you. See, you as the relationship manager, you are responsible, 100% responsible for setting the tone, taking the lead, staying connected with them, keeping them informed. You see, relationships, they will naturally drift and they'll drift without intention, happens all the time. Maybe close friends of yours that you haven't seen in years. Neither of you are upset with the other person or have lost interest. Just life just happens. And if there's no reason to reach out, then it's not going to happen. It has to be intentional. Now, here's what often happens when it comes to you securing a major gift. Let's say you've secured the gift, the campaign is over, the events associated with the campaign, whether it's an annual fund campaign or a capital campaign, it's over. Other deadlines are coming up. Your thank you letter has gone out and things get busy. You get busy, the donor gets busy. Months go by. Before you know it, if you're not careful, an entire year can go by. And now you start to really question whether or not this donor is still interested. But the donor didn't leave. They didn't pack up and move or walk away or completely cut you off. The relationship has simply lost momentum. And that is a responsibility that you have as a leader, is to sustain that momentum. Belongs to you, belongs to the organization. So stop waiting for the perfect reason to reach out, because I'm sure many of you are listening to this and go, well, I don't really have much to say. I don't want to bother them. I'll wait till it's time for me to ask again. And that is a huge, huge problem. Because if you wait until it's time to ask again, and the last conversation that you had was you thanked them for the gift in a thank you letter, then you have taken something that is designed to be relational and intentional, and you've made it transactional, because now the only time that you're talking to them is when it's time to ask. So when you have those beliefs, actually can quietly damage relationships if you think that you don't want to bother them, you know, you don't really have anything important to say. I want you to think about this. If this donor has given you a significant gift, I don't care if it's $1,000, 5,000, 10,000, $100,000. They gave because they trust you as a leader. They gave because you asked. They're vested in this relationship, but they are relying on you to take the lead. That's what's important. So reach out to them. Reach out to them and share a success story, celebrate an impact milestone. Doesn't matter how big or small it is. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. There's no perfect reason for you to reach out. And also ask for their perspective. Ask for their thoughts, or simply check in. This is what I was advising many nonprofit leaders during the pandemic, when we couldn't go anywhere. We had to be distant physically, and so people were panicking. What do I do? Check on your donors, see how they're doing. That time was a perfect opportunity to re-engage. Hey, thought of you. How are you doing? And in some cases, maybe there are things that you can help them with. They likely don't need it, but the thought and the just reaching out for the sake of reaching out to simply check in goes a long way. See, the relationship fundraising that I often talk about really happens in between the asks. See, the major gift is the outcome. The relationship is what matters most. Every conversation that you have with them doesn't have to be an ask. One of the healthiest things you can do is remove money from the conversation entirely. Now, does this mean that you're not going to ask them for money again? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But when they provided you with a gift and it's been a couple of months, you're not going to ask them for another gift right now, but you are going to sustain that relationship. And you're going to maybe ask them questions like, what first inspired you to support our mission? These are great questions to ask after the gift is closed, because then there's no pressure. They feel good about giving. And the door is open for you to ask questions like that. What part of our work resonates with you the most? What are you most passionate about? What we're doing right now? This is part of the learning process. It continues throughout the entire relationship. And even ask them, what feedback would you give us? Programmatically and as a donor, because they want to give to something that's winning. And so, of course, they're going to provide you with supportive comments, advice. You don't have to take them, but it's great if you hear them and let them know that you heard them. Whether or not you act on those conversations is another story. But letting them know that you heard what they said makes a big difference. See, people enjoy talking about what they care about. People enjoy talking about themselves, right? And when donors feel heard, the trust between the two of you grows. And when that trust grows, generosity follows. It's what happens in between the ask. It's what happens in between the gift. It's what happens in between the two yeses. That's what's important. If nothing happens, you may not get a second yes because you, again, have taken what is designed to be relational and made it transactional. Because if you build up a relationship with them and then you make the first ask and you secure the gift and then all of a sudden you're gone until it's time for them to renew, they're not going to feel very good about that. And so there's no perfect time for you to reconnect. Just do it. Just do it. So here is a simple donor reconnection plan. It does not get any more straightforward than this. I want you to choose 5 donors, 5 major donors that you haven't connected with or spoken to in 6 months or more. Go through your database, choose them, figure out who they are, and call them. Send them an email, a personal email, not the email that comes from your newsletter, because your newsletter, the things that you do in mass that are really designed to keep everybody informed and maybe to encourage some transactional giving that will lead to major gifts, that's not stewardship. That's not relationship. See, what matters most is that they hear directly from you. So call them, send them a personal email, invite them to coffee, lunch, and ask about them. Ask about them before talking about your organization. Check in. This is it sounds, like it could be bordering on something that is maybe more personal than it needs to be. But these are just cordial conversations that you're having that indicate that you care more about who they are, how they're doing, than you do about a gift. They know, they're savvy enough to know, many are savvy enough to know that this relationship is a relationship that will lead to another ask. And they will gladly give because they feel engaged and that they feel closer to the organization because of you. You see, you are a conduit. Yes, you are the leader. Yes, you are the executive director or the head of development. And it is your job to build these trusting relationships that lead to large gifts. And you're not doing so in a way that's disingenuous. At least I hope not. My hope is that you deeply care about these individuals, these donors, these people that are investing in your mission. So ask them about themselves before you share anything about the organization. And then during that meeting, share one meaningful story of impact. It's a way to keep them updated. So that's a re-engagement plan, a reconnection plan that if you have silence, long period of silence with at least 5 or more major donors for 6 months or more, then I would encourage you to do this. Not a solicitation, no proposal. I'm not talking about annual campaign or capital campaign. Just reconnect. Just reconnect. It's no different than you reconnecting with an old friend, a friend from childhood, high school, or college, or a previous job that you worked at. Many times when that happens, you kind of pick up where you left off. And each of you cares enough to ask the other, how are you doing? Now, what's different about this is that you've got to take the lead. You're the one who is, they're going to ask you how you're doing, and that's okay. But you're representing the organization and you're nurturing this relationship with this major donor. And part of nurturing this relationship is you leaning in, checking in, and staying connected. You'll be surprised how many relationships can come back to life if you do this. So if you're feeling stuck, you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to this person in months or a year, just simply do what I suggest. Give them a call, send them an email, take them to lunch, take them to coffee. Ask about them before you share any information about your organization. And then share a meaningful story of impact so that they feel connected and updated with information about what you're doing. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Um, it is this work is a work of commitment, and I know because I've lived it. Many of you are executive directors, and you're probably thinking, "Well, my goodness, how in the world am I going to find time to do this?" And I've been in your shoes, right? Invite them to come to you, especially if you're, you know, at a place where you can actually demonstrate your mission in action. I've worked with many camps over the years. I'm a product of camping, both as a camper, as a counselor, lifeguard, board member, program director, executive director, you name it, I've done it. And the best time of year, and I know it's July, the best time of year to invite people to your site is when you can demonstrate your mission in action without uttering a single word. I'm not saying that you're going to walk around and give them a silent tour, but my goodness, you don't have to start every sentence when you stop at certain places along the way with imagine, right? Imagine this dining hall filled with, 150 campers. Imagine the lake, bustling with rowboats and canoes and other flotation devices and kids swimming. You don't have to imagine it because they can see it. And it's not just camps, it's any organization that is having a daily impact, weekly impact, whatever, on the lives of the people that you serve that you can share with them, invite them to see it. You see, your donors aren't simply funding your mission, they're partnering with you. And any partnership requires connection, requires communication. Don't assume that they've disappeared. If you don't hear from them, it's because they haven't heard from you. And may simply be waiting for you to make the first move. I hope this has been helpful to you. And as always, this fundraising thing, it's not about the dollars. It is about the relationships, the quality of the relationships that you have with high capacity individuals. But most importantly, it's about what the dollars that they give to your organization and what those dollars do for the people that you serve. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.